many of you think I'm coming out today?
Yeah.
Everyone was contacting me saying there's something very dubious about your promo. I'd like to thank Waleed and MindX for inviting me to talk this evening. More importantly, though, I'd like to thank all of you for holding a safe space for me to be vulnerable today. And I'm going to take a seat because I want to show you my shoes. So, with a show of hands, how many women in 7 Seas would say that as soon as they put on a pair of high heels, they feel more confident, more sassy, more sexy, more powerful, more in control? Hands? Interesting, okay. And I can't actually see who's a man and who's a woman. So with a show of hands, how many women would say that as soon as they put on their favorite trainer, they feel more grounded, more authentic, more cute and core, you know, the kind of thing that you'd probably choose to wear on a date that's not really a date because you don't want to give the wrong impression? How many? Right. Okay, so I'd like to say that I deliberated on which bloody shoe to wear tonight for a week because I wanted to be comfortable, but I'd be lying. Despite all the inner work that I've been doing, I was worried how I would come across. And here we go, you know, the old inner voice that we all have. So I was standing in front of the mirror in a figure-hugging dress thinking, is this too much? Do I look too confident in heels? Am I too intimidating? Will I look better, more approachable in trainers? And I was on that same old path of I need to be accepted, I need to be validated, blah-de-blah-de-blah. And I basically came here tempted to dim my light. And that, is why I'm going to put my heels on, because I don't want to do that anymore. And B, the reason my speech is called Finding Me. I had to Google the tense. It's present continuous, apparently. The reason it's called Finding Me is because it's a work in progress. You know, changing doesn't happen overnight. I'm by no means the best version of myself. The 40s have been an amazing revelation. And I'm nowhere near throwing away the key to my emotional home, and we all have one. But what I have found in recent months is that this growth journey that I'm on gets me so excited. I mean, I wake up every day and I'm like, wow, I'm excited because I know I'm going to learn something new today because I'm growing every day. And I sincerely hope that that journey never stops because we should all be growing on a daily basis. So, who am I? Identity. It's a loaded question. And I don't know if any of you have seen this before, but I thought I'd bring a bit of the marketing into the speech tonight. So when we're tasked with branding a project at work, a destination, as I'm sure people who are branding other products have to do as well, you have to do your workshops and get into the skin of the product you're about to launch because it needs a personality. It needs to appeal to certain audiences. And at the end of the day, who are we all without a story, as the other speakers have mentioned so far? So we sit, we do workshops, we brainstorm, and we think, okay, what's at the heart of this destination? Who's it speaking to? And then we look a little bit about the values, because every product, every service, every company has values. And then we look at the behaviors. And obviously in branding, that translates into things like tone of voice and colors and logos and graphics and all of that. I'm baffled that we're not doing this for ourselves. It upsets me that the education system doesn't think that this is worthy of attention. We spend all our time asking children, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's like, how about getting to the core of what's your essence? Who do you want to be? What are your values? What do you care about? And how do you want to behave in life? Because if those two aren't aligned, so if your values and your behaviors are incongruent. That's precisely what causes anxiety, mental health issues. And when we're in distress and we're not happy, if we had this to reference, we would know exactly what was wrong. Who are we? Who are you? When you introduce yourself to somebody, are you a CEO? Are you a teacher? Are you a doctor? Are you a lawyer? It's a really dangerous game because these definitions have nothing to do with who we are, but we learn. You know, this is learned behavior, it's habituation, and we take on an identity. You could say, I'm a mother, I'm a father, I'm a daughter. Even that's dangerous because we're so much more and everybody deserves their individuality. Who am I? If you flicked through, as Walid so beautiful outlined, the things that I've done, my bio, my photos, you'd probably think, oh, she's got it all figured out. I was completely lost in my 30s. I did not have a clue who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't know where I wanted to live. I didn't know where I belonged. And for everybody in here who knows that I've been single in like forever, I didn't know what I wanted from a relationship. I didn't even know what I wanted from my friendships. I was literally in a country, no map, no GPS, no bloody clue. But what I did do, I kept myself very, very busy. And all my friends kept saying, oh my God, you have such an amazing life. You know, you're always here, you're there, you're traveling, you're this. And I was like, well, I didn't say it at the time, but I was on the go because the more I moved, the less I had to think about me. And that's why the word me is so important to me. It's not like I, the ego. I find that me is something far more enticing. It's warm, it's cuddly, and it's caring. And it also has accountability, which is huge. But that wasn't the only reason I was busying myself. I was a codependent. Now, for anybody who doesn't know what that means, it's a very disabling thing to be. It's a word that's used to describe people who are so intertwined with someone else's identity that they lose their own. And it's usually used to describe people in abusive relationships, sometimes people who are carers, more often than not, people who are potentially looking after somebody with mental health issues. And when I say mental health, I'm covering the full spectrum: mental illness, depression, dementia, anxiety, you name it. When you care so much about other people or somebody else, and I'm sure everybody in this room has been on this journey, you want to save them, you want to fix them. It's human nature. And you can do that, and you can do it too much. And I'm going to try not to well up now, but my amazing sister who couldn't join us this evening, but she gave me her blessing to say this. She's my idol and my inspiration because she's been battling with her mental health for decades. And her resilience and her fortitude that she gets out of bed every day and gets on with her life and has turned her life around is so awe-inspiring. And my sister never asked me to devote myself to her. She never expected it of me. But let me tell you why I was doing it. I wasn't only doing it because I loved her and I couldn't bear to see that she wasn't always okay. I was also doing it because it gave me an excuse to hide from my own chaos. It was like, if I'm saving her, I don't need to look at me because, you know, I'm doing the job. I'm amazing. I'm helping somebody. And codependents do have a tendency to have this kind of like aura of, I'm the savior and I'm a martyr. So I was lost for a very long time. And the problem was that while I was busy helping and being Mother Teresa, I was also busy deflecting, avoiding, and busy achieving. And that's where this comes along. I don't know how many of you know the difference. It took me years in psychotherapy to understand this. But I needed to understand. I'm like, how is it that someone as annoyingly confident as me has all these fears and insecurities? I couldn't understand it. And actually my parents, my boss, a colleague who are all here tonight would tell you that I am forceful, I'm opinionated, I know everything. I do. And I can do anything I set my mind to because I'm very target orientated. But I need validation because I'm a people pleaser. So the result of that was that if I wasn't helping someone, if I wasn't saving someone, if I wasn't imposing my opinion on someone, who the hell was I? And that's where the lack of self-worth comes in. Because when you're so busy doing that, you think that that's where you derive your value. So suddenly you're like, oh, if I stop helping, if I stop saving, am I worth anything? Because that's your identity. And then two things happened that changed my life. And that's the journey that I really wanted to share with you tonight. 2016, I collapsed outside my office at Limassol Marina and I was bleeding. And I was like, well, okay, unless I'm the chosen one, this ain't a miscarriage. So I went off to the gynecologist and he sent me for blood tests. And I found out that I had a low FSH, a low AMH, didn't know what they were. And then I went to a fertility expert who said to me, you're 39, it's a no-brainer, freeze your eggs. And I did. Alvin, Simon and Theodore are in a freezer in Nicosia. And my little boys are going to stay there, very cheap child support. But the doctor said to me, they're not enough. You should probably do it again. And that was the first time in my life that I had to sit and talk with Sophia. It was the first time in my life that I was having an internal dialogue with myself about my dreams, my wants, my aspirations, and I had to think long and hard. Do I want to be a mother? Do I want to put my body through that again when I haven't even got a man on the horizon? He's lost his GPS and I don't know where he is, on some white horse somewhere. But I was determined to make a decision, and the decision was no, I do not want this enough. And I cannot tell you the clarity that came with that decision and that conversation with me. When I finally realized I was okay with not being a mum, I suddenly realized, finally, I can put a pin on my GPS. Because if I'm not stressing about having a child, that means I'm not stressing about meeting this idiot. And if I'm not stressing about meeting him, I can relax and focus on other things. And that's exactly what I did. And the second amazing thing that happened was COVID. And I feel really bad saying that. I know it was terrible for a lot of people, but the pandemic saved my life. What does an avoidant codependent do in a 70 square meter apartment on their own? I was like, I was probably shaking because I was not used to being on my own, sitting still in an apartment. And I cannot remember the day, but I remember thinking that I love my 40s because I'm finally getting my shit together, excuse the French. And I thought, this journey that I've been on, other people could benefit from hearing this because it was lonely and it was scary and it was grueling doing all this IVF, blah. You can see me there in Giberunda in a hospital getting my stomach jabbed during a work trip. It wasn't fun, and it wasn't fun walking past maternity wards watching mothers with their babies when I was like, why am I here? Why am I on my own? What is this all about? So I decided I needed to find a brand name. And because everybody's been asking me, they still don't get it. Favorite age with your ovary stuck in the middle. Favoritage. But anyway, it didn't go down very well, obviously. But I got it trademarked. I spoke to a lawyer. I bought my domain name. I built a website. And in lockdown, I started blogging about my experience because I thought somebody can benefit from this. And why not? No one's reading it anyway. So what that did amazingly is that suddenly it gave me a little bit of a burst of energy. And I was like, oh, I'm enjoying this writing thing. Maybe I'll start reading a book. And then the next day I thought, you know what, maybe I'm going to send a text message and go for a walk by the beach. And the more I did, for me, the more empowered I felt by this sense of discipline and accountability. It was the first time that I thought I can actually change me if I put in the effort instead of running after other people. So I started cooking. I had only ever boiled an egg up until lockdown. I had never exercised in my life, and a very good classmate of ours told me about Couch to 5K, which was this app that gets you running incrementally. And I started running. And all of a sudden, Sophia started to change, and Sophia started to find Sophia. And it was mesmerizing because these tiny shifts, these small daily habits, these incremental changes were changing everything about my behavior and my outlook on life. And one day before a 5K race, my first ever race, 5K, but anyway, I decided I'm going to compile this blog and I'm going to make a book and put it on Amazon. So obviously, I changed all the names because I was like, the sky is going to fall when people read this. And I pressed publish on this book before I went on the race. And the sky didn't fall. I got some lovely heartwarming messages from people who didn't know me, from women who wanted to ask about the egg freezing process. And it made me realize that when I was being authentically and unapologetically me, it was more fun, it was more fulfilling, and it was helping me engage with more like-minded people, as Walid said before. That's a picture of me showing off to my family that I'd managed to do a run. But this was the revelation. It was like suddenly I had a compass, and the amazing thing was that the atomic habits became a support system that I had. We all have challenges. Life is not easy. And the thing is that the tough stuff in life is always going to come and go. So having that system in place so that I can rebound when I relapse in life has been invaluable to me, because at least I know now what to do to pick myself up. So Amor Fati, love of fate, is a phrase used to describe an attitude about life, that everything, even the bad stuff, happens for us and is absolutely necessary. Now, I'm not one of these people who believes in an old man with a white beard and a tunic sitting on a cloud mapping my life out for me. I'm not even so sure that I believe in sitting on your sofa chanting positive affirmations and waiting for the law of attraction manifestation to make your life happen. I know that there's work that you have to do behind that. What I do believe, though, is that you can find gratitude in everything that happens to you in your life. And everybody in here has had a battle behind closed doors. A lot of people are still battling things behind closed doors. And the important thing is how you deal with them. And it's all of that stuff. It's the avoiding, the deflecting that got me on this stage today. So there's definitely something about the work going on behind the scenes. The Wizard of Oz. So this was one of my favorite movies as a child. I think my parents were so sick of watching it, so sick of me playing this on a VHS back in the day. Isn't it amazing, though, the meaning behind this movie? And I never, ever even noticed until years later. But we're all on this journey. We're all on a yellow brick road. And we're all on a quest for this happiness. And we encounter witches along the way and tornadoes, when at the end of the day, everything we've been looking for is inside us. And all we have to do is give ourselves the time to peel those layers and reveal our truth. The two most important days of your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. I'm here today sharing this story because this journey has made me realize that my values were totally incongruent with my behaviors. I have fixed my behaviors, and now I need to work on the essence and the purpose of who I am. And being here at MindX is the beginning of a new journey and a new chapter for me. And what I'd like to say to everybody is that we all deserve to live a life that's in accordance with our truth. And there is room for everybody in this world to be authentic. And how do we do that? By finding our me. Thank you.
Yeah.